Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you my aesthetic Notion notes template. Link in the bio, plus ask any questions if you have them down below. And if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. So the first thing I did, like I always do for all my Notion notes templates, is press those three dots in the right corner and change the font and the text width, etc, etc. I just like it, but you don't have to. And of course, it isn't an aesthetic Notion notes template without an aesthetic wallpaper, and so I changed that little wallpaper slip at the top. So let's get into it. Let's actually get to the point. So the first thing I did was add that title, and if you want to add an icon, you can. I just don't like it. So with this template, I inserted my headings first. I like to use heading 2 or 3. I think for this one, I used heading 2. Then one thing to note about Notion templates and Notion notes is that you are going to want to make sure that it takes up the entirety, or if not a large part of the screen. And that's because if you're working with full width Notion, it will look weird, especially if you have a large computer screen, to have a large gap empty. And to format, all I do is make it italics and bold, and I change that background to a brown background just because that was the vibe. To create the borders that I have here, I insert a quote block and then I move it to the right hand side until a blue slip appears, and that creates 2 different blocks for you to write in. And then you can edit that width of each block how you like. In the little quote box section, I do recommend adding notes about your notes, if that makes sense, and a little Spotify song, Spotify song that matches the vibe. And then we're going to move on to our next section, which I did by adding a divider. So one thing I do want to mention is that you're going to make all your headings uniform. So again, what I did was typed in heading 2 or heading 3, made it italic, made it bold, and I changed that color to brown. And then what I did to make the entire strip brown, which is what I'm going to show you here, is press the 3 dots and then press color. And then you can change the background to brown, and it'll make the entire strip brown, which is what I did for both sections. So I like to have a different setup for each section. So what I did was I started off by adding an image, and of course you can make your image actually pertain to whatever notes you're taking. I just really like adding GIFs and making my notes look super pretty, so I never really use the big images for actual diagrams, but that's all up to you. You can always change it if you like. I just want to note here that you can add your images on the right hand side of the quote blocks. I don't do that here, but of course you can add PDFs, you can embed links, and you can do whatever you like. I tend to do this style more than the other style, which I mentioned before. After that, for this section, I really would use it for like social studies, English, or quotes, like actual quotes, not the quote blocks. But you're going to want to add a long paragraph here, and I'll show you what that looks like. I just feel like it looks a little bit more better and dense. And of course, even though we want aesthetic notes, we want notes that are meaningful and actually, help us. So here you can see how much better that looks when I fill out the entire section next to the image. And now I'll get back to that Spotify playlist that I said before, or Spotify song. And I chose one that matched the color, so she's still brown. And then to add it into that quote block, you're going to move it and hover over the quote block until you see like a little blue line with a gap, and that'll put it in the same block. And now we're moving on to our last section of the entire Notion notes template. I just wanted to show you how I do 3 of my sections, but you can get as creative as you like. So what I did for this section was I first inserted a call out, and I like to use these call outs to note about very important sections or notes that I may not want to like scroll forever to find. Like if your teacher says something was like, you must remember this, I'd recommend using call outs to remember it. And similarly to how we changed the color of the heading, you can change the entire color of the callout to brown so it matches the theme. After I did this, I went along and added another picture just to keep that formatting, keep that flow, but also create some type of differences. So I didn't use the same picture. I used this GIF, which I found to be so pretty. But again, I inserted it to the right, and as you can see, I'm dragging it until a little blue bar pops up, and that's how you create different columns. And similarly to how I said earlier that you're going to want to fill up as much space as possible, that is what we are going to do. So here I included how to insert multiple lines within one callout block. If you are using the Notion template, you can read it later. But what I did here was I recommend linking to outside resources. So here I just linked to my YouTube videos, but if you are actually taking notes, I'd recommend linking to like important places that you may visit, especially if you're writing a paper, maybe your bibliography, stuff like that. That way, when you're scrolling, you can click on these links and they'll still match your theme, but you'll be able to reach them faster without having to search or look through like other notes. And the last thing I did for this section was insert a table. So what I did was insert a table, and then you create the top bar as a header block, as you see me do here. Type in your headings and fill them out with as much words as you like. It's very simple to do, but it really adds something to your paper. And lastly, I went along and added my captions to each of my images. If you were actually using a diagram, it would make more sense than what I do here, but I didn't really need captions here. But if you are using a diagram, add captions so that you'd never have to like squint and maybe try to figure out why you added something somewhere. And I added those to both of my images, and that was it. But this is the end of my Notion note tour. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you like these videos, please let me know and I'll make some more because I do have other styles. And of course you may be like, oh, this is very small. Usually you are going to repeat the same type of setup. Maybe you change the images around, but whatever you do, it should match this type of style and template. But I will see you all next time and hopefully you enjoyed. Bye everyone.